Hey, welcome, Claire. Clare Spelta from Bon Maxie, everybody. Welcome. Oh, let's sit here, Oprah style, nice and close, not too. Drew Barrymore style. Yeah, too close. Lean in. I. It is great to meet you. I have stalked Claire. The good thing is when you run the conference, you have everyone's information, and I saw Claire had registered for the event and reached out because I love the Bon Maxie story. I love any brand that's been able to build something when there was a frustration or there was for you it happened through maternity leave, and you've built an incredible brand. And one thing that's always been great about Retail Fest is founder stories and not just the stuff that we post on Instagram, but the real, when the shit hits the fan moments that make the authenticity real. And that's why I was so pumped to have you on stage with me today. So thank you very much. But for those who don't know about Bon Maxie, why don't you give us a little background and we'll go from there.
That's good. Is this on?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Hello. I was thinking fireside,
Yeah, we could get a fire.
fireside chat, although Queensland.
That's right.
So Bon Maxie, we are in our 11th year and we're in the middle of a brand refresh. So my taglines are all over the place, but basically we create very handy accessories that solve your daily annoyances.
No, that's sorry. Correct.
No,
Keep going.
go for it.
You know more about you than me, but I was having a look at the tagline, which
Yeah, it's changed.
What's the tagline now?
Maybe style that solves. I can't remember what's on the website actually. I think style that solves.
Tell us how you started the brand 13 years ago.
As you do, you have a baby and you get very bored because apparently you're supposed to be on the ground playing with them 24/7, and that just wasn't my style. So I started picking up my paintbrushes, which I had done all my life, painting, and I started doing these baby portraits just for friends and family. And Facebook groups weren't a thing, mothers groups where you meet offline weren't a thing. I started to get really lonely, and I found this app called Instagram. And I realised that there were so many of these small businesses or small brands, or they wouldn't have even called themselves businesses, I'm sure, at that point, selling their wares. And I thought, oh, you know what, I can do that. Coincidentally, I have a business degree, so that's really useful. I'll jump in. And so I just started posting, and I'm like, didn't use my degree there. 3 months of no marketing, very little sales, and then finally I cracked on that you have to start to connect with people, and I grew from there. And then the capacity of drawing portraits of small children took up my entire day, and I had a son that was growing, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm probably not charging enough. This actually has legs. What else can I do? And of course, then thinking about what you should do with marketing, I need to find a problem and solve that problem. And how can I do this en masse? So I started looking for problems in my life, which is extremely healthy. And one day we were about to run out the door, and I was trying to find some matching earrings, and I couldn't find a pair for the life of me. I had 5 bowls of jewellery on the bed. Husband was getting a bit, impatient at the door, and I thought, surely there's a better way, and I realised there was. So I started drilling 234 holes into A4 sheets of plywood. I started to really annoy the guys at Bunnings because I would line up with these plywood sheets and ask them to cut it to very specific millimetres so it would fit in an Australia Post document satchel thing. And the handy accessory element grew from there. So our rooms were covered in sawdust because I was drilling, sanding, painting these ornate designs on my earring holders. And the business grew through connection with all of these handmade earring businesses that were popping up everywhere. So that was very organic that we did that. We started wholesaling, and then I started manufacturing myself with a laser machine, which was lots of fun. And then I realised I was spending 24/7 doing that instead of everything else I should have been doing in life. And then tried to find somebody in Australia who would manufacture for me, and they said, absolutely not. 234 holes on an A4, that will cost you, I don't know, $200 per piece of plywood. I'm like, I sell them for $39. I can't do that. So then I started to look into manufacturing. And then, again, carried on looking for problems in my life. And my favourite bag broke. I couldn't find a replacement that was this really nice size that held a drink bottle that was crossbody. I never could find a strap that was quite the right length for me. I was always like trying to find things in different zips. So there were lots of problems, and it just didn't seem like people were solving them. So I looked into bag manufacturing, and that's kind of where everything changed. We added in a mini wallet that was a card holder and coin purse combined. And it all sounds very like common now, but back then the function in fashion-based things that you wear, accessories, just wasn't a thing. And so coming up in our 11th year, I mean, we've sold, I was just saying to somebody before, we've got a customer who's purchased over 80 times with us, and a lot of our customers have 8 to 10 of the same style of bag, just in all the colours that we've released. We've got a very, very loyal customer base, and we're all remote working in a very lean team. So it's been a journey.
My wife, when we go away, her favourite way to pack the car is with a blue IKEA bag because it squashes nicely into the back. Yeah. But maybe we should definitely up to Bon Maxie products now.
Or collaboration.
You talk. And I've read a lot about. Obviously, you have a really loyal and obsessed customer base, and your products are built around functionality. I would imagine that you're someone that obsesses over every comment, every nuance, every detail. And how do you balance like a new product idea that's suiting one person's request as opposed to like, is this viable for the business?
One thing I kind of can guarantee when I get a review or a comment or something like that, I have thought about that specific thing that they're asking probably 10,000 times before I've released a product. I think that's what our secret sauce is the obsession over the details. I take it very personally when I get a comment, even if it's something that's not necessarily bad about the product. It's just, can you try something else, or can you do this? Because I genuinely want to help every single one of our customers, but I know that that's very much not viable. Question?
Yes, sorry. I was enthralled with your answer. Yeah.
Distracted. What was it? Sorry, can you repeat?
No, I was talking about how you're being customer obsessed, and obviously
yes.
trying to, whether it's create a single product for a single person as opposed to whether it's viable from the business.
Yeah.
How do you know when a SKU is going to take off, and do you make limited releases of something? And I can see my daughter's on the screen. It's distracting me. So how do you come up with new product lines, and when do you know they're a hit, or if it's just a one-off? Or
yeah, I suppose it's the intention behind the design and the time it takes to kind of get something to a point where I know that it's got legs. Asking customers is very useful. I know I'm a very critical person when it comes to products now, so I'm looking for things that might collapse in my day-to-day and kind of utilise that as an idea and build on that. But very much feedback. I think when stories first became a thing on Instagram, that was such a good two-way communication system with our customers, and I think that's where we weren't operating like big businesses were, because they were faceless. They were doing the things that they were always doing, and they were in retail stores, so people could just kind of walk in and experience the product themselves. But we were online only, and we had stockists, but we now only do our own website. So you have to be very, very careful that you present your product in a way that customers understand and, it suits them. But I think explaining features in a way that solves customers' problems, or it's language too. I think that's where we really are able to connect with people, because we're talking their language about their day-to-day, and it's not just a bag. It's a problem that we're solving.
I think you've got like 400 and something thousand Instagram followers or something.
Not quite.
Not quite?
Maybe tomorrow.
Well, you've got a lot of Instagram followers. You've got a great online presence. As the brand founder, as someone who is really connected with the community, do you feel also the pressure sometimes you just want to just rest and hide and be like, just buy the stuff, please, and just leave me alone?
Of course. It was a lot easier when you didn't have to put your face online, but I think when you start from that very small grassroots level, naturally when you're the designer, you're kind of in there and you're selling to people, and people want to buy from people and all of that kind of stuff. The last 6 months especially, personally, it's like freight train after freight train after freight train, and I have hidden, and I've very much crawled under whatever doona cover I can find. But of course, Meta and Andromeda, every time we put up an ad that has my face on it, they just perform. So it's really difficult to separate yourself from that. I think it's how do you maintain your business without that? Find people who are going to be advocates for, but there's still so many customers that just expect me on the other side of it. but I think that's probably my expectation that is trumping it all. So if I strip that away and realise that I don't actually have to be on there 24/7 and realise that the business is still growing and running, then that's a good realisation. I just need to get out of my own way.
But it's also very rewarding that you do have such a loyal customer base and an obsessed sort of community, because they also, we see it here all the time, how people rally around each other whether there's something that's not gone right or there's been challenges and things like that. And I suppose having that connection with your audience allows you to take a breath and go, you know what, it's going to be okay. I've got my army of people out there who are going to help me, and that's something that you can only build through authenticity, And what I love about your stories and the way you share, it's not about trends and fads. It's about functionality rooted in business, but they're quality products as well. And I think building the business around longevity and functionality will always stand you in better stead than chasing trends.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think the other power that we were talking about just before is leaning into the chaos of life. About 6 months into me starting the business, my son, who was at that point about 9 months old, started having seizures. And we couldn't work out what was going on for about 6 months after that, but everything kind of just turned on its head. And I realised the power of owning a business was pretty incredible. We were in hospital and I got a wholesale order through for $1,000, and I'm like, this is something that I can really lean into, because I'm at the worst point of my life and yet I'm still earning, which was pretty incredible. So that communication that I've had with my customer base, I've always been very honest. I've not gone into so much detail that I'm uncomfortable with it, but new customers may not have exposure to that. That's totally fine. But we've got such a huge customer base of people who do know that, and I think that that candor that we've maintained over the years has allowed me to say, well, you know what, I'm just going to step back. And people do reach out and say, you're all right, you haven't been on in a while, but real life connections, people just get it. So that's been really nice.
What advice do you have? I mean, business is all consuming, but obviously, family comes first. And what sort of advice do you have for people who are trying to manage or grow something where you're trying to get that work-life balance at a time where everything feels chaotic, and some of the, tips to manage through stress and growth and transitions and setbacks?
Get a treadmill and do exercise if you can exercise at 11 o'clock at night. I think there's so many things of what you should do and what you can't do, and I think it's just, instead of trying to fix everything, how can you make it work in the situation that you've got? Every time I've tried to change how we run things, we got a warehouse, 8 years ago, and I never went there. The idea was that we had staff packing orders and whatnot, and I'd put my face in every day, and I just didn't go. So I realised pretty quickly that I just didn't want to leave the house with operating this business. So I constructed it around that, and all of my team are remote. Most of them are in Brisbane, and I use contractors because contractors just go off and do their thing, and they bill you for the hours that they've done, and they're business owners, so they've got skin in the game to make sure that they're doing a really great job for you, and I found that's really enabled me to not have to think about managing a large team who keep coming to me saying, what do I do next? Or, I have to get them all on the same page. So it's just, working out the situation and making sure you can kind of mould your life around that instead, or your business life around that.
What's the most Bon Maxie thing that you carry around every day? What's in your essential kit of stuff that you use daily?
I'm staying 2 nights here, and I probably brought about 8 or 9 different things, which is completely against the point of the brand. It's supposed to consolidate. But I keep thinking, I'm in a hotel room, I can take some content, and I don't, because I just get there and I'm gonna, there's no kids around. I think that there's a case that I have in each of my bags that I can take out of one bag and put it in another. Handy handle case. It's like this rigid kind of box style thing. And it's got everything that I reckon I could probably need in an emergency, like Band-Aid, lip balm, muesli bar, those little bits. That's probably the
muesli
most.
Bars, or you don't want to get hangry.
I do get hangry.
Yeah, that's
Careful.
I think about fashion and retail, and I think about, the accessories market is quite a crowded market, but you've sort of been able to stand on your own. How do you sort of manage, whether it's competition or people replicating your products because they're great, sort of protecting that IP, but, sort of not falling into the crowd where it's, everyone's fighting for space and noise? And
It's something I've really had to battle with. In the handmade market back in the day, copying is so easy to do. I was one of the first kind of smaller businesses in Australia that owned a laser machine, and then it became very common because they became a lot more accessible and whatnot. So I started having people who were utilising my logo and they were selling at markets, which I didn't know. And yes, you get the lawyers involved, but you get 10 emails that you send out saying, that little logo that not on, or something that you've designed is bordering on, very close to what you've done. And you've done all of the legwork to market it, and so people just see it and go, oh yeah, I get what that is, I know who's made it, even though that's not the case. Everybody's trying to fight for $1. Yep. So that would be the response that I would get back. So I kept feeling worse. After getting really angry, we'd send out some emails, cease and desist, and I would just get attacked back. And I thought, okay, this isn't feeling good, even though I'm not the one in the wrong here. So I decided to put blinkers on. And every time that happened, I realised it kind of created that fire that I'm like, why am I so upset about this? Is it because it's easily copyable? And it was. So I changed materials. I went to a different manufacturer and got a metal earring holder that took me about 18 months to design. Very technical, clickety-clackety kind of rows and whatnot, and nobody could replicate that. So I think you allow yourself a day, less than maybe 15 minutes now, to get angry and let it all out, and then sit and think about why you're upset, and is it that you feel threatened? If that's the case, then do better. And that's been very much how I've focused on.
Can you trademark any of the brands, or can you trademark any of the designs and things like that? And how long is that process? Is it even worth doing?
It's not necessarily worth doing if it is going to cost money and you don't know if the product is going to be viable or is going to actually, last past a season. And that's always been my intention with my products, is that they're not seasonal. They're something that they can, carry on through all seasons and for years. So it's a trade-off between, is that going to cost me too much money before I launch? Is it worth it? Is it actually going to be seen as unique? Can it have a patent? Probably not. There's design registrations. They've changed the laws recently about that a little bit. But at the same time, that's a lot of effort to put, brain power. And if you've got less brain power, in your day because you've got all of these things happening around you, return on investment on time, it's not necessarily there. So I think it's this nice thing to have, but it means your designs and why it's unique is plastered on a website somewhere publicly, and that's not great either.
You're talking about the rebrand of assets and things at the moment. What's the thought process behind that? Why did you feel like, now's the time to sort of, obviously things have been working quite well, but obviously you can see another opportunity. Take us behind that thought process and I suppose some of the frustrations and stress that goes along with that.
Yeah. We were a very colourful brand in the earring market, big, bold. Gorman lovers loved us because they were, very aligned with that. When I went into the bag space, my first idea of a bag, I was talking to somebody last night, we always used to buy my mum a happy bag every year for her birthday, and it was just, she loves colour, she's a patchworker, and we'd just get something happy and bright. And I just thought, I'm just going to make happy bags, and it's going to be all of these different colours, but I really want to add in this detail, and the water-resistant lining, and we've got key clips and purposeful pockets and feet on the bottom and, size-inclusive straps, all of that kind of stuff that adds to it. It ends up making not the cheapest of products. And, when you do that, you have to consider, well, is this a sometimes purchase for somebody that's going to use something every day, or is it just a, grab every so often? I came to realise that our bags, we do have majority and neutral bags that we sell alongside, a lot of colourful ones. So I had to start looking at, our colourful brand and our colourful product offering, does this actually align with our market? And are we turning away people who are just looking for a really nice tan bag with all of this colour? So we've gone through a few different iterations of the brand over the years, and we've come to a point now where we've had to work out where we can still be approachable by people who love colour and don't want to be, they don't feel like they're at home in these very neutral environments online and in store, which is pretty well the majority. And we also don't want to scare all of the minimalists who want to buy the black bags and see pink. We have a lot of neon pink, and that's always been a really good seller. But as soon as somebody who wears all black sees that, they're like, oh, no, I'm out of here. So that's been that kind of middle ground alignment. How do we do that? And do we let the products be colourful? Do we let the brand be colourful? So it's been finding that mix in the middle and making sure we don't scare away our biggest clientele.
The great thing about having a community like yours is there would be ample user-generated content out there from people who are sharing the story with you. How do you work and collaborate with some of the people who are brand loyalists or people that, you know, purchase and share the product? Because that's your biggest marketing angle that you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people just don't want to be online. So that's a really tricky thing. When you're asking people to share earring holders back in the day, that's very easy for somebody to share a collection of their earrings and putting it, you know, it up on their own page and sharing it around the world, basically. That's okay. But a lot of people just don't want to take a photo of themselves and put it on the internet. So it's a difficult thing to navigate because you want that and you want to show that other people are wearing your stuff, but you don't want to use somebody and say, so I'm done with you, I've got your photo, now I'm going to go and talk to everybody else and use your photo for that. So it's one of those things that I find really difficult to navigate, but I often like to use the words instead and share the reviews and how people feel about the product, because it's not just the look for us, it's actually the mental load that we're trying to ease and solve that instead. So reviews are key.
Is there a particular customer story or use case that Bon Maxie solved that resonated with you in particular and how it made you feel at the time?
I think our weekender bags have probably seen about 50 babies been born, so that's been really lovely. When people say, I've taken my weekender, all the nurses were gathered around the bag and asking where it's from. That's always a really special thing to kind of be there in that journey for people. There's been a lady, she was in Alice Springs in a pharmacy, and she said that somebody walked up to her and said, oh my God, is that a Bon Maxie? I'm looking at them online. Can I have a look at your bag? And I get these comments a lot where people are like, sure, and they do these bag tours for random strangers, and they're pulling out all the glasses cases and the wallets, and they're like, and see this, and see this. So we've got these real advocates for the product, because it sounds weird, but it's so different to what, you know, other brands have done in the past, which has just been like black bag, black hole, no pockets, no zip, no nothing, uncomfy shoulder straps. So it's that once you're in, customers that just want to spread the word for us. So it's the general feeling of our customers that's my favourite.
Is there a product that almost didn't make the cut that's turned out to be one of your staples? And is there one that you were so certain was going to revolutionise the accessory business that just didn't take off or resonate?
Our toiletry bag was something I was not intending to be a bestseller. It's one of our cheapest products. I got, as you do again, looking for problems in my life. I had a toiletry bag that was black. It had, makeup, and it had cardboard inserts on the inside, which I discovered when I was like, can I wash this? You cannot wash cardboard inserts. So I was like, well, I don't really want too many pockets, and I need this to be structured. And when you open up a makeup bag, everything is everywhere. And then you go traveling and something spills, and well, you can't really wash it, so that's not great. So I just kind of made this as a bit of a side product, and that's been a really huge acquisition product, because it's a washable item, it's padded, it's got all of these pockets, but it just keeps everything organised and compact. So that was a surprise. And I'm just trying to think of something that didn't work. I'm sure there's been plenty, especially when I let myself loose on the laser machine. Weird ideas in the middle of the night. I did a Kmart insert once there was a Kmart jewellery box back when Kmart was starting to really get crazy with their interiors. Something would go viral. I don't know if anybody remembers that rose gold, like votive candle holder. Sold out everywhere. Everybody wanted it. It was like $7. It didn't look great, but it was really popular. It was that time, and there were these jewellery boxes that had a lid, but they had no earring holder component. So I got onto the laser and started making that. And unfortunately, plywood is very, very difficult to gauge the thickness. So there were some that were sitting up, some that were falling down. So I had to have these inserts that I added into the insert. So yeah, it wasn't the best, but good challenge.
When you're, looking at product design, the marketing, the way that you communicate with, what's the kind of planning cycle for you in terms of new product creations or drops or seasons, maintaining the core, coming into those peak sale periods and stuff like that? Like, how far in advance do you have to plan, and what's the sort of, go live time for a product from, conception to market?
It varies. a Weekender bag that's been one of our longest running products and still one of our best sellers. That was a one weekend job, and I've come back 360 in that sense that I am carrying so many bags when I go and stay for a couple of nights, but that's more of a branding exercise. We went away for one night and I had like 3 or 4 bags because I had a bag for shoes. I had a toiletry bag at that point that didn't fit in my duffel bag. The duffel bag was like bent like this because it had no structure to it. And as soon as I came home, I'm like, draw, send off for sampling, and no changes. That went to market as soon as we could get stock. So that was great. And then other times, I've got our full wall of our office is full of samples of ideas that I just send off, and then they just get chucked in there. And I'm like, yeah, at some point I might do that. Or the fashion's moved on, or whatever it is. It just wasn't quite right at the time. So it could take years. The baby bag that we released not too long ago, I had my son in 2015, and then I always said I would never touch baby bags unless I had another child again, because I didn't want to get myself into the headspace of thinking about children when I was wanting another one, but disability is really difficult to navigate. And so, yeah, I ended up with a baby bag, but that took me about, I reckon, maybe 2 years plus all of the thought that I'd had prior to that. And I was supposed to release that when my daughter was born, but she was like 1 or something like that when I released it. So
It's here
depends.
now. A lot of, like, obviously selling online, it seems now that the condensation between the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the Boxing Day sales has become one long cycle, and it starts basically from September. When you're trying to build a brand and build, customers, how do you manage this key sale period where it feels like you've always got to be on sale, or you've got to be offering a discount, but not bastardizing the best sellers and products that you have?
I think it's really working out. I mean, as an online shopper, an avid online shopper myself, I get a lot of understanding from how, my habits are and what I feel about brands when I see that they've got a big red, plastered 20 to 50 or whatever it is. You get to expect that when you've seen it before on a website. So it's been, you try this, you try that, you try a flat rate, you try up to, you try 20 to 50. Expectations of sales is really difficult. But I guess it's working out what kind of brand that you want to have, and whether or not you want people to be waiting for a sale, or whether you have core items that you want to be able to sell in between those moments as well. And I guess it depends on margins, it depends on all of that stuff, but it's just what do you want that brand to be, and do you want people to come back and know that they will pay full price and it not be on sale, every 2 weeks.
How do you talk to your customers? What's the best way for you? How do they communicate best with the brand, through obviously EDMs or socials and things like that? But what's the sort of messaging cycle? What do you have? Loyalty discounts, some sort of club, or how do you re-engage with those people who shop? How do you re-engage with those who've maybe bought a product but haven't again, and trying to work out the best way to talk to those people?
Yeah, we used to have a loyalty program actually a few years ago that I got rid of because I realised that people were expecting discounts every single purchase, and they would be asking customer service, they would be searching on Honey and all of those systems. And that's fine if that was always the business model and we had the margins to do that. But when the expectation came after we'd priced everything, I realised that people who are loyal customers are the ones who are waiting for the discounts, and you kind of think your loyal customers are the ones who would be happy to pay full price because they believe in the product, and that's the fantasy at least. So I've been thinking about this for about 2 to 3 years. How can we actually give back to the people who come back again and again? And we've done things like gift with purchase, just emails with loyalty. You've now got some dollars to spend at the store, but at the same time you're still discounting everything. So I've studied the Mecca beauty loop situation. We can't really necessarily do samples of bags or that kind of stuff, but I think recognising that we've got lifetime and lifelong customers, we can't try and bring them back for another purchase in a year when it's a bag. It's not like you have to replenish skincare. So we're in the process at the moment of building something that is based in Klaviyo. So it's more an automated thing, and it's a lifetime tiered kind of thing. So each tier will have, well, you've made it to this level, you get one-off discount, and you might get something else with a purchase, or you get
early access.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just what do people actually want? Yes, they want discounts, but they want to feel like they've been valued as a customer, and recognise, all of the people who have bought 60 or 70 times. We see them, and what else can we give them that's not just more free stuff or, things that they might not find useful.
Yeah, no, that's. What about potential collaborations or brands that you'd love to work with, or ideas that have been thrown at you? Have you gone down that route much? Have you got any sort of wish lists of people that you'd love to collab with that would be a Bon Maxie like mic drop moment?
Yeah, I have a few. I've got a couple of little drawings that I've got up on a whiteboard, and I mean, it's a danger with collaborations, because when you pitch to somebody, you explain why your business is so good, why the collaboration would be so good. And when there's established businesses, you have to be very careful that they go, oh, that's a great idea. I'm just going to ignore that email and let's just implement that's a new product line that we can do. So it's been something that I've been wanting to make sure that we get the brand to a point where it's well known by these businesses that would actually see the value in the brand rather than just the product line. And I think that's taken a while for me to kind of grasp. So yes, we have a couple of things that are kind of in the works, and a couple of dream ones that I know will happen at some point if I frame it properly, because the value's there. But I think once this rebrand is done, I'll be ready to.
We'll keep an eye on it. Well, Retail Global swag bags for next year would be lovely. Thank you very much. We've got a couple of minutes left. Like this, I could talk to you all day. This has been brilliant. As a founder, as a business owner, as a mum, you're running this, business that's sort of going gangbusters. You've talked about, obviously, balancing family and work life. What are some of the non-negotiables that you have, both as a person and as a business owner, that you sort of ground yourself in, and some of the advice to people who are doing the same thing at the moment?
As somebody who always tries to be online on the dot at 10 o'clock, I try to have my micro weekends. I call them before my work hours during the week, because when my son's home all the time on the weekends, it's just all hands on deck. I've felt guilty every single minute of 11 years of I should be more present. I should be more present with my kids. I should be more present with the business. I should be more present just in general. I need to sit. I need to not work. I need to not look at a screen. I need to read, exercise, all of that kind of stuff. And it's only just, I think, in the last 12 months that I've thought, stuff that I am going to lean into how I work, and realise that we've gotten to a point because of all of this, despite all of this. And my non-negotiable is to not feel bad about that anymore. And I hop online at 10:26. Sometimes I hop on at 12:20 p.m. because it's not like I haven't been working in some capacity. I may have been, answering a DM at 6:30 in the morning, or who knows. But I think that it's just that it's a waste of space, and we spend so much time just thinking again and again and again, why not, that it's just, what would happen if you just remove that? It's like, if you get triggered by people online, why not just unfollow them? It's like you just unsubscribe. So that's been it's a muscle that I've had to unwork or work, is just to be a lot more kind with myself and go, well, nothing's going to change because this is my life, so I need to just stop worrying about it, stop pressuring myself to feel something that I can't shift, and just be okay with how it is. So
that's incredible advice. I think everyone, we feel forced to work from a certain time period in certain constraints and be online or be present. You can't control life, and it's busy, and you not feeling the guilt of making things work around you as opposed to the other way around is
something I have to mutter under my breath. I'm the boss.
You're the boss.
And then I realise I can do what I want, really.
Sometimes it feels like you're not the boss, but Claire, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I think you're brilliant. I think you run a great business, and I'm so honoured that we've been able to sort of share the stage. We've got your exciting relaunch. Any one last little product drops or anything exciting that we can tease here for the next sort of few weeks or anything?
Well, I haven't gotten started on it, but I think the Woolies green bag just needs a bit of a refresh.
Hey.
I think it needs a key clip in there and something that looks a little nice and isn't going to disintegrate after 2 uses. So if anybody has any connections with Woolies, let me know.
Awesome. Everybody, that was brilliant. Claire, I really appreciate it. Round of applause for Clare Spelta, Bon Maxie. Thank you so much.